Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over the Gems of War weapon of Life and Death. This weapon is only available for one day about twice per year, and today is that day. This weapon is generally considered one of the best 5 weapons in the game, definitely top 10, and it is insanely good. As far as what it does, it gets to steal a bunch of life from the last 2 enemies. Do note that this does say steal, which means you actually get to accumulate that life, so whatever damage you do with this, you basically get to keep. It then gets to death mark them. Generally, death mark, I say, isn't really the greatest of mechanics. However, this weapon's already so good, it basically gets it for free, so it's pretty nice. And then it also blesses itself. This is pretty substantial as well, because not only is it gaining a bunch of life, but it gains a bless on top of that, which will not only cleanse any kind of negative stats effects that you have on yourself, it also make it so you can't be really countered by a lot of them until you cast again. Especially if you're in second or third slot and you won't be distracted by skulls, you'll simply be able to go cast again. And normally whenever you cast, you lose your bless. However, since this weapon gives you a bless, you could basically perpetually have bless if you play it correctly, giving you immunity to things like mana drain, devour, and a bunch of other annoying mechanics that might end up getting in your way. Aside from that, it also gains some pretty beefy upgrades, the most noteworthy one being that it gets to enchant itself. It gains enchant when it casts. This is particularly good for keeping its mana up, so even if you're not directly accumulating mana for this thing, it's still gaining 2 per turn, while also having the 10% chance per turn that the 2 enemies that are death marked will end up dying. Aside from that, it also gets to drain 3 mana from the first enemy, meaning if they were about to cast, they won't be able to cast anymore, which is also extremely good, since it also counts basically as a mini mana drainer. Obviously that's not much, however 3 is enough to drag them from full mana to not full mana, which is enough to delay them at least for 1 turn on them being able to cast, which gives you another chance to kill them with death marks, as well as another chance for you to gain 2 mana off of enchant. Overall, insanely good weapon in pretty much every way. The only big thing it's lacking, very obviously, is it has no board control. That obviously is bad for many things. However, there are plenty of good mythics that don't have board control that can still get away with it, and this is a weapon that is so good that it basically gets to do the same. It is most commonly used with either Archmage's hero class, or very commonly the Orbweaver hero class. You've probably seen this on Defend, particularly in Guild Wars. That's actually its primary purpose, is to use it within an Orbweaver team for Guild Wars. However, there are a few others, and we will be showing a few teams. But anyways, how do you obtain this weapon? So it's only available about twice per year for 1 single day. So if you're watching this today, make sure to go get it. But there are 2 ways. One is if you go underneath games and you click over to the Faction Assault, the one that looks like that, the Silver Necropolis, and you go over to the shop, it can be obtained for 410 gems. I would advise this method. However, if you don't have a lot of gems, there is an alternative, but you end up getting a bunch of sigils for the event, which you could use for the event, a bunch of other stuff along the way, as well, of course, the weapon. So you can end up getting it that way. The alternative way of getting it is if you go under games and go underneath Soulforge and you go underneath to weapons, you'll see somewheres in here a little number next to it. You'll be able to see the life and death, wherever it is. I already own it, so it's harder to find. There it is. But you can end up crafting it for this material. So if you consider this material to be cheaper than 410 gems and you have it laying around, you can also obtain it through this method. It is 2 celestials, 400 brown jewels, 10,000 souls, 400 purple jewels, and 200 diamonds. So you either have to pay that or 410 gems in order to get this weapon. If you are low on gems, you can end up doing treasure map. It's one of the weekly objectives anyway, so you can kind of just push it up, which is one of the reasons why I said you could probably do gems for it, since gems you can at least infinitely farm, whereas something like these material you cannot. But anyways, those are the 2 ways of getting it today. Make sure to do so, because after today, once it rolls over to Wednesday, after that timer expires, you will not be able to get this thing for a very, very exceedingly long time. Like, it'll probably be summer of next year before we see this thing again, so do be very, very mindful of that. So yeah, definitely make sure to get on that today. Anyways, let's go and mess with some teams, or show some teams, and then we'll mess with 2 of them. So as far as, hey, that's funny, we're actually up against Life and Death. That's pretty convenient. But there's a lot of Life and Death teams. However, I will just be showing 3 for this video. The most common one is using it with Orbweaver. There are 2 basically different ways of doing this. The main premise is you set your hero class to Orbweaver and use Life and Death in second slot. You follow it by Arachnaean Weaver. This has Impervious as well as the chance of summoning a Webspinner whenever you get a kill. It also has true damage to synergize with the true damage that the weapon has. It ends up hitting the last 2 enemies, which Weaver also hits the last 2 enemies, so they synergize very well together and are almost always used in synergy, assuming you have a Weaver. And the other thing is 50% mana start to elves. This is pretty useful because Orbweaver hero class if we go underneath the class info thing, does indeed count as a elf, so it does gain half mana start from the King Avelorn. He also has backup summon if you really needed it to replace out your first slot. Aside from Webspinner in first slot, the very other popular option is to run an Empower option, particularly if you're using it for Guild War Defend. If you're using it offensively, you might not necessarily do that, but for Guild War Defend, you definitely do. The main purpose of this is put Empower in first slot. It feeds into your mana, ideally purple, pretty much immediately. You then go and cast Life and Death and or Arachnaean Weaver, or your AI team will, and then boom, you basically just go crazy and win. But that's basically the premise there when you set it for your Guild War Defend. But it can be used offensively as well. Next team is a purple, not normally used on Purple Guild War Day, though it is possible to build a bunch of true damage into it. But this is basically a Drowned Sailor, again, the Empower option, feeding into something onto our team, and then we just have Weaver there, or an Archmagus actually. You can go Weaver or Archmagus. They're interchangeable depending on what kind of playstyle you're going for with the team. With Archmagus, you get more purple overall, whereas with Weaver, you have a lot more safety with not dying. Though whenever you go Weaver, you generally want to have a King Avelorn on your team, and since you can't do that on a purple day, normally Archmagus would be better if you are trying to incorporate it into a Purple Guild War Day. And obviously, if you're running it with that, you almost always go Weaver. Though there are alternatives that don't use any Weaver. As far as a low rarity example, every single thing on this team is ultra rare and below. It uses Cockatrice up front, which has not only mana drain and entangle, but it also has the creation of additional brown and a +1 for itself. Has a lot going on. Even has twice damage to entangle. So if you do that up front on their opposing team, you also of course have Life and Death, which also has a 3 mana drain, which synergizes with that to make sure that they can't keep casting. You have Apothecary, which has Cleanse, as well as the capability of feeding brown to all 3 of your other troops. You also have a +1 blue going into it. Might seem a little bit weird to minus your purple, however, it is very important that Apothecary has +1 either on her green or on her blue. So we end up doing this just to get that down. And lastly, we have Tigraki here, which is a nice low rarity thing that you probably already want to have upgraded anyways for Bounty Hunter, since it's such an important Bounty Hunter troop, the most important in the game. And while he generally isn't used outside of Bounty Hunter, from an early game to mid game perspective, he is an okay option to end up using. This would probably be the first thing you would replace out on this team, like with a Tina 9000 if you happen to have, or something like that. However, this is the absolute lowest rarity version of what can be placed in this location. And then basically you just cast Apothecary, you get all of your mana up, you keep disabling with Cockatrice, which is a pretty common technique earlier on in the game. You have Life and Death, which will basically never die. I currently do have this set as Titan. This isn't normally a hero class that you would use with it, but given that this team is so heavily brown, it does use it. Of course, you could use Orbweaver or Archmagus instead if you so choose. However, this one does show it with Titan, which ends up gaining Barrier every brown, which makes it even tankier. So now you'll have Barrier, Bless, and Enchant all together, which obviously is a ridiculously strong, though it does get countered by Dispel and stuff like that. But assuming they don't have a hard counter to it, that thing will be like near unkillable. It's pretty funny. But anyways, we're going to go and use 2 of these teams now. We'll use the low rarity team and the pretty classic one. We'll do the classic one first, and then we'll go show off the low rarity one. What's our banner set to currently? As far as what we want to have our banner set to, you normally want to go all in on magic with this particular team. So let me go and do that since we are not currently set to that. And then we'll go from there. So we'll go and fight this team. Oddly enough, against another Life and Death. That was not planned at all. Did not realize. That'd be funny if our next battle too is Life and Death as well. Though we might see an increase of it since a lot of people who might not have had it prior are getting it today. So of course, oh no, we got entangled. No, oh, I was gonna say now we can go do the thing, but nope, we're entangled. So he's gonna go do a bunch of annoying stuff. We're gonna go for a Life and Death here, obviously. We did not end up getting Weaver. We can go for purple here to kind of set up into it. I don't believe we're going to the... Oh, or that can happen. Okay, so now we have the full combo. So, of course, the main combo with this team is you cast Life and Death, you cast Weaver, you pretty much already won. The second this goes down, we already won. And, gosh, as you can see, the only thing that lives because of all the lust is Life and Death. However, this doesn't matter at all because Orbweaver is basically unkillable. It gains so much life, it keeps summoning giant spiders. So even in this situation where it looks like we only died down to 1 single troop, we actually did not die down to 1 single troop because Orbweaver has a 35% chance. Used to be 50% chance. It got nerfed even at 35%. Still insane. But it has a 35% chance to summon a giant spider whenever it takes damage. It has so much durability that will be taking damage a lot. And basically, you'll have your entire team just be spiders by the end of your battle. Speaking of spiders, he's doing the same thing, though not as efficiently. But we'll go and kill it out then. Let's see. We'll go and convert to blue there. As you can see, we summoned another spider. One other thing to note about this, and 100% always should be done if you're running a stealthy-based hero class like Orbweaver is have stealthy on it. This makes it so it can't directly be targeted by targetable abilities. Generally, the last thing alive on your team is going to be life and death, for example, this battle. And for this reason, you want to have stealthy on it so it can't be directly targeted. The reason for this is you keep summoning things like giant spider and other smaller spiders, which do not have stealthy on them. The fact that these do not have stealthy mean that the enemy will have to target these if they're using a targetable ability, making it so they can't hit your life and death, making it even more unkillable, which leads to those very annoying battles where you're basically up against a life and death that ends up winning after like 10 minutes because there's just like no way to kill it and it just keeps going crazy. But yeah, there's some weird plays you can make with it, and it's just so tanky. It gains so much survivability, and there we go. Anyways, that's the high rarity team. Let's go show the low rarity team now and what it can do. Oh no, we need to do a real team. Let's see, where's a real team? That might be too real. We'll give it a shot. We'll see what happens. We might get obliterated here. Though we do have that mana drain. If we can get a Cockatrice on him early, we might be okay. I'm concerned with how early we'll be able to Cockatrice him, though. We need like a 4x, 5x brown at the start, and hopefully we'll be good to go. But anyways, let's see. We do not have either, but we could go take that. We do get all of our mana. That is really good. We can actually go disable... oh gosh, we can disable him right off the bat, so we'll go to that. We'll go get down a brown. Let's see. Which brown can we end up going for here? We have two different browns. We have one on the side, one on the other side. I'm not sure which one we want to go for. He's going to take brown himself, which is the big concern here. But we'll go for that brown. We're obviously going to follow up with another brown. And probably have to drain his first slot. Might have to do his second slot. We'll see. Depends what he does here. So he does get mana for his second slot, so I will go for that and just hope this doesn't miss. Oh, it does. We're in trouble. As long as he doesn't gain full mana here, though, we should be okay. No, the silence! No! That's rather unfortunate. We don't have enchant on you yet, either. We're probably just going to have to ditch it for life and death. Okay, he completely misses. That's good. That's really good, actually. So we're not dead yet. So that was a huge miss in our favor. He doesn't have Bless, does he? Yes, he does. That means he has immune to mana drain. I actually want to bait him to take a skull right now. So what I'm going to do is leave all those skulls there. He's going to take it for a lot of damage. However, this will expose him so we can go and mana drain him with our, never mind, our non-existent Cockatrice. Actually, that's not true. I can cleanse. I can cleanse out of it. So what I'm going to do here is he's going to take a skull. We're going to life and death here. He's going to take that skull and lose his Bless, as well as his Submerge and everything else, but the most important thing was that he lost his Bless there. What we can now do is use Apothecary's Cleanse, get rid of that. We now have Mana Drain for him. We can then go Mana Drain him, and then go Life and Death again and keep chipping them down. And then boom, we got the full combo down. Cockatrice, insanely good for early game and mid game if you haven't been using it. So good. The synergies with Mang that it has and everything, while also having one of the best disables in the game as a rare is pretty nice. You normally don't see me using it too often, but it is so good earlier on in the game. Main issue with it does have a bit of inconsistency sometimes, but overall, great option. So right here, we have both of those kind of def marked. I do kind of want to chip one of them all the way down, particularly the hero, just because obviously hero can be pretty annoying. So we are going to do just that. I don't believe he has a way of gaining Bless either at this point, so we'll just go and kind of wait till his mana goes a little bit up so we can just go and drain him. He's entangled right now, however, he's very likely to become unentangled. I'm actually just going to drain him now and not wait it out just so we can go get another life and death down and just go chip at him once again. And then we can do that, throw into Tigraki. If you have Tina 9000, Tina 9000 would be much better in last slot, but of course this is a low rarity team after all. Let's see. So we can go for Skull here, however, I believe Tigraki is actually enough damage to kill. Unfortunately, it doesn't show boost ratio, however, we can do math. What is 51 divided by 3? That is, let's see, that is 37? Did I do math right? I think it's 37. If that is true, that is way more than enough damage, but that should kill. And there we go. I think I might have done math wrong there, but fail. It's early in the morning, but it was enough to kill. We knew that. That's the important info. But anyways, there we go. And that is that. That is Life and Death. I highly advise you make sure to go get it, as it is only available today and is not available for a very long time. And again, you can either get it for 4 or 10 gems in the current Silver Necropolis faction today, or get it through Soulforge. And after today, it will be gone. It's not available all week. It is only available today. So if you don't get it today, you'll probably be summer of next year before it rolls around again. So make sure to go get this thing if you don't already own it. It's among one of the top 10 weapons. highly advised to have it in your arsenal. But anyways, guys, that will wrap it up for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Feel free to leave a like, helps out a lot. If you have any comments to mention, feel free to leave that below, and I will catch you guys later. All of the teams mentioned in this video will also be in the description if you just want to go and copy paste and use any of them, modify any of them, or do whatever you want. But yes, highly advised you go get Life and Death. Goodbye, everyone.